doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million, and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just off.
Steven Spielberg, a name that hardly needs introduction. Across decades and genres, Spielberg's storytelling has captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. From the magic of E.T. to the awe of Jurassic Park, from the harrowing realism of Saving Private Ryan to the poignant depths of Schindler's List, his ability to weave emotional and cinematic experiences remains unparalleled. When Spielberg decides to direct a project, it becomes a momentous event. And when he places a newcomer in a leading role, it signals far more than a simple casting choice. It is a coronation. This is exactly what happened when Spielberg selected Rachel Zegler to star in West Side Story. Young, fresh, and extraordinarily talented, Rachel was plucked from near obscurity through an exhaustive nationwide search. She was poised to be Spielberg's next great discovery, the face of a new generation of movie stars. Her voice, her vibrancy, her charm, at least on the surface, all seemed to promise a brilliant future. Hollywood buzzed with excitement. Magazine covers heralded her as the industry's next sensation. Social media was flooded with fan anticipation. Critics and insiders placed their trust in Spielberg's unerring instinct. A legendary remake, a fresh face, and the guiding hand of one of cinema's greatest directors seemed like the perfect ingredients for a modern Hollywood fairy tale. Rachel Zegler appeared destined for overnight stardom, yet behind the gleaming press releases, and meticulously staged photographs, another story was unfolding. Whispers from within the production suggested that Spielberg's faith in his young star was being sorely tested. Spielberg, with his heartfelt and deeply personal vision for West Side Story, sought to preserve the emotional authenticity that had made the original so timeless. Rachel, however, reportedly had her own ideas. Sources claim that she persistently pushed to modernize Maria's character, aiming to infuse her with a sense of independence and political consciousness that clashed with Spielberg's vision. While it is not uncommon for actors to offer their interpretations, the level of resistance Rachel allegedly displayed surprised even veteran crew members. It was not collaboration, it had become confrontation. Spielberg, celebrated for nurturing creativity and collaboration, found himself facing a rare and uncomfortable challenge. He had directed some of the most formidable personalities in Hollywood history, yet always managed to foster an environment of mutual respect. On West Side Story, however, the mood reportedly turned tense. What should have been a joyous reimagining of a beloved story instead became a battleground of egos. Crew members described the working atmosphere as tense, emotionally exhausting, and frustrating beyond measure. Spielberg, known for his unflappable composure even under pressure, was said to have displayed rare moments of visible irritation during rehearsals. In private conversations away from the set, he allegedly confided to trusted colleagues that working with Rachel Zegler was among the most difficult professional experiences of his illustrious career. To the public, none of this was visible. Rachel Zegler remained the radiant new star, the Spielberg protege poised to dazzle the world. Outside the industry's inner circles, no one suspected that the relationship between the legendary director and his leading lady was already deteriorating. But creative differences were not the only challenge. A second, more delicate controversy was brewing. As Hollywood grew more attuned to issues of authentic representation, questions began circulating about Rachel's heritage. Her Latina identity had been part of her casting appeal, but behind closed doors, some studio executives reportedly voiced private doubts. Tense meetings and whispered concerns followed, along with behind-the-scenes requests for Rachel to substantiate her background more definitively. Rather than handling the matter diplomatically, Rachel allegedly chose to escalate it into the public sphere, accusing studio insiders of questioning her identity. What could have been a quiet resolution instead spiraled into a loud, messy public relations crisis. Through it all, the public remained blissfully unaware. Meanwhile, those inside the industry watched closely. Spielberg himself, insiders claim, began to distance himself emotionally from the project, even as he maintained public support during the film's promotional push. When West Side Story finally debuted, it garnered respectable, though not extraordinary, success. Critics praised Spielberg's masterful direction, but Rachel's performance received more tempered praise. More troublingly, the behind-the-scenes chatter about her behavior continued to gain traction. Yet if the troubles on West Side Story were substantial, they paled in comparison to the disaster that awaited with Snow White. When Disney announced that Rachel Zegler would portray the iconic princess in its live-action Snow White remake, the initial reaction was cautiously optimistic. Internally, Disney viewed the casting as a strategic move to refresh their brand. They envisioned a Snow White who would embody modern ideals, empowered, self-reliant, and less reliant on male saviors. On paper, Rachel seemed a perfect fit for this vision, but almost immediately, cracks began to show. Instead of celebrating the opportunity to honor a beloved classic, Rachel embarked on a baffling press tour. In interviews, she repeatedly criticized the original 1937 film, calling it weird and creepy, and openly mocked the notion of a princess awaiting rescue by a prince. She dismissed the importance of romance in fairy tales altogether, laughing at the very foundation on which Disney's empire had been built. Rather than showing reverence for the material, Rachel appeared disdainful. For lifelong Disney fans, her comments felt like a slap in the face. The backlash was swift and brutal. Fans expressed outrage across YouTube, TikTok, and other social media platforms. Memes mocking Rachel's interview spread virally. Disney, recognizing the scale of the problem, scrambled to contain the fallout. Future interviews were tightly scripted or canceled altogether. Marketing efforts shifted focus to other cast members and the broader magical world of the film, minimizing Rachel's presence wherever possible. But the damage was already done. Every new promotional clip or soundbite seemed to deepen the rift between the film and its intended audience. Instead of uniting generations of fans, Snow White became a lightning rod for cultural frustration, symbolizing what many perceived as Hollywood's tone-deaf attempts to modernize beloved stories without respecting their origins. As the premiere approached, industry insiders predicted disaster. Early tracking numbers were abysmal. Online sentiment remained overwhelmingly negative. Even die-hard Disney fans admitted they intended to boycott the film. When Snow White finally hit theaters, the catastrophe was confirmed. Despite its massive production budget and the might of Disney's global marketing machine, the film stumbled at the box office, grossing only $194 million worldwide against an estimated production cost of $240 to $270 million factoring in marketing. Expenses, analysts estimated the film needed at least $500 million to break even. It didn't come close. Inside Disney, shock and dismay reigned. Internal reviews reportedly placed much of the blame on Rachel's disastrous press tour. Carefully crafted marketing strategies had been undermined by a few careless interviews. Behind the scenes, further stories of tension emerged. Allegations surfaced of strained relationships between Rachel and her co-stars, political arguments on set, and a generally toxic working environment. Crew members allegedly dreaded scenes involving her, citing unnecessary drama and emotional exhaustion. What was meant to be a magical production had instead become a cautionary tale. Meanwhile, Spielberg, observing from a distance, reportedly felt grim validation. The young actress he had once championed, despite early warning signs, had confirmed every quiet concern he had harbored during West Side Story. Though he never publicly criticized Rachel, his silence spoke volumes. In Hollywood, being quietly blacklisted by someone of Spielberg's stature is often more damaging than an open condemnation. It signals to producers, casting directors, and studio heads that the individual is not worth the risk. Rachel's career rapidly unraveled. Studios that once fought over her began backing away. Offers evaporated. Her team scrambled to repair her public image, but the efforts felt hollow. In Hollywood, reputation is everything, and hers was in ruins. Instead of showing humility, Rachel doubled down. She continued giving interviews that projected arrogance and detachment from the reality of her situation. Fans who had once rooted for her now celebrated her downfall. YouTube channels pivoted from praising her to chronicling her collapse. Reddit threads tracked every misstep in real time. Rachel Zegler had become a symbol, not just of personal failure, but of a deeper cultural frustration. To many, she represented a generation of Hollywood creatives perceived as disrespectful toward the very stories that built their industry. Disney, for its part, moved quickly to adjust course. New projects were greenlit with different stars. Internal Memos emphasized a return to respectful modernization, aiming to restore the emotional connections that made Disney classics endure for generations. Yet the damage from Snow White lingered. Beyond financial losses, Disney's brand took a major hit. A studio once revered for its magical storytelling found itself accused of disrespecting its own legacy. Within Hollywood, Rachel's story became a case study. Film schools dissected her interviews. Social media analysts traced the viral spread of her negative press. Industry seminars cited Snow White as a warning about the importance of respecting the audience. Despite her talent, Rachel's attitude had severed the essential bond between storyteller and audience, a bond built on trust, love, and mutual respect. Once broken, that bond is nearly impossible to repair. As the months passed, Hollywood moved on, new stars emerged, fresh stories captured the public's imagination. But the lessons from Rachel Zegler's fall remained sharp in the minds of executives, directors, and marketers alike. Spielberg, ever the consummate professional, continued shaping the cinematic landscape with quiet authority. Though he never spoke publicly about his experience with Rachel, his actions sent an unmistakable message. In Hollywood, no amount of talent can compensate for a lack of professionalism, gratitude, and respect. In an industry where second chances are rare and public perception is everything, Rachel Zegler's story serves as a powerful reminder. Talent may open doors, but attitude, or the lack thereof, can slam them shut. If you found this story enlightening, we invite you to share your thoughts below. Your voice matters, and together we can shape a more respectful, authentic future for the stories we all hold dear.